Jason, and the hat is, what is it? Oh, Rivals hat.
Hey,
Oh.
I was gonna turn my chair and do like a slow reveal, but
you know what you should do now, Jason? This is what you need to do. I need 3 hats on the table, and then you choose which hat you're going to wear. And
yeah.
and for the next 20 minutes, I'll be wearing the Adidas hat.
I'll do the little okey doke and like pick it up and throw it cast to the side.
That's what we need. I want a hat reveal that's there. Hey, by the way, guys, if you guys have got recruiting questions for Jason, now is the time. Get those things in the chat, and Jason will be here to answer any of those recruiting questions, UT questions, things to that effect. But if you got specific recruiting questions, if you want to know about some, Jason will answer it. He'll tell me about the recruits at Cedar Park High, right? We don't have any, do we, Jason? I don't have any.
Not really. If they're not on Texas's radar, they're not on my radar. So Cedar Park guys on Texas's radar.
That's all right. That's all right. One day, I have some boys. Just hold on for the next 10 years, guys. And I got some guys coming. Jason, well, I know you just posted your 3-2-1. Of course, I've been working, so I haven't had the chance to read it. Not asking you to regurgitate it, but give us an idea what is going on and kind of from Texas recruiting landscape and some of the highlights that you can kind of mention for us.
Yeah, it was actually my Q&A. I posted fan submitted questions yesterday, and I answered them last night and this morning. Anwar, not a ton, honestly. I mean, coaches are so hyper-focused on their season. High school football in the state of Texas begins this week. Some places began last week around the country, so players are kind of focused on that. Their own seasons, of course. It's a dead period. We do have a couple upcoming announcements. Dominic McKinley, DeAndre Baker, the offensive lineman out of Mater Dei. Those guys are both going to decide that first week of September. Excuse me. Texas is obviously involved in both of those. We're still waiting to see if Ryan Wingo, the wide receiver out of Missouri, the 5-star receiver, if he might announce earlier if he's going to stick to that December timeline. But it's been a fairly slow week, since you and I talked the last time, if I'm being completely honest. But Texas continues to chip away on some of these top targets, and now we're just waiting to see if they can close the deal. The big question I get every time I do one of these Q&As: are we going to get a top 5 class? Where's Texas's class going to rank? So, the next commitment from a guy like a Ryan Wingo, from a guy like a Dominic McKinley, those are going to tell the story, whether or not Texas can get up to that top 5 ranking, or if they're going to be closer to 10 or maybe even outside the top 10. So these next couple of announcements that could come down, even DeAndre Baker, even though I don't think that one will go Texas's way, but, these next couple announcements could really determine how this class looks in terms of the rankings when things are finalized, I guess, in February of next year.
Benji threw something out there as far as a question for you. Jason says, with the commitment of JuJu to SC, where on earth will UT go to find their QB1 of 2026? Wow. What year is this? Like, we're talking about 2026? Like, what is going on right now?
It blows my mind, dude. I remember back in the day, dude, like, I don't remember it. Like, it got worse each year. I was like, I am never going to interview a sophomore. And then it was like, I'm never going to interview a freshman. And then I think I was at an event this year. I was like, I interviewed a kid who was in 8th grade, Booty Feaster. I'm like, oh shit, what is this? What has my life become? I'm interviewing 8th graders. But it's actually a legitimate question by Ben, and Ben's got his finger on the pulse of this stuff as always. But with JuJu going to Southern Cal, what is Texas going to do? Look, Texas wasn't going to get JuJu in that group after getting KJ Lacey. Highly unlikely. But I think what they'll probably wind up doing, I don't know who the answer is to who it would be, and it's a good question. Like, that'd have been a good question for my Q&A, where I had a little bit of time to do some research and kind of dig around the 2026 quarterbacks in the state. But it's probably going to be similar to what they did this year. Now, they went out this year and didn't necessarily get the big name quarterback, but a year after getting Arch Manning, you're probably not going to go out and get another 5-star quarterback. The year after getting KJ Lacey, you're probably not going to get a 5-star quarterback. So I would point to a guy similar to Trey Owens, what they did this year, the guy that's, the staff really finds, some qualities in that they like, probably going to be an in-state guy, just wants to be at Texas. Guy's going to have to be really confident. like Trey is, but I would think probably an in-state guy that's, maybe outside that top rivals 100, outside of the rivals 250 type. But a guy, you know what? Hey, I always point to this. People always say, "Oh, okay," but Colt McCoy was that guy. Colt McCoy was absolutely that guy, and look how that worked out for Texas.
Jason, you do get asked, one of the questions you do get asked a lot is about 5 stars in this class, and we'll get to the Micah question in a second, and you're going to bleed in. But they got Colin Simmons, right? And so Micah just becomes, you can keep that back up there. We'll go ahead and bleed into Micah. That's fine. It's a fascinating one. You're always going to get asked about it, Jason. And my contention is, I had someone, from Tech on the other week, and I simply said, like, look, there was a lot of smoke that Micah was supposed to commit during the summer. It's gone and passed. And so if Micah wanted to commit to Tech, he could have done it at any moment. He hasn't. I mean, to me, the door would still be open, but again, you're going to get asked the question until he actually probably gets on this dotted line with somebody.
And you had Chris Level on, right?
Yes.
My man Level, and I didn't get to hear what Level said, but nobody I've talked to knows an answer as to why hasn't he announced yet. I mean, that thing, other than him publicly announcing, was all but done, Anwar, and it has been. And I'm talking like edits have been done, videos have been made. From what I've told, people have seen them. I mean, it's that far down the road. But why hasn't he announced? Nobody I've talked to seems to have a good answer to that. I've said it for 6 months. Micah is a different cat. He marches to the beat of his own drum. He's not going to follow the stereotypical timelines, and he's going to do things his own way, and he's not going to let people force him to do anything before he's ready. And if he wants to go to a school like Texas Tech instead of Texas or Ohio State or Alabama or Texas A&M, he's not going to let peer pressure get to him, man. He's going to do what he wants to do, and I respect the hell out of him for that, to be honest with you. I admire him for just being his own person. But, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you this. From what I have been told, Texas Tech still remains confident. Alabama's starting to make some waves there. They have been for a couple months. There's been some scuttlebutt that Micah and Texas have been in touch. Maybe even Micah originated that contact in the last couple weeks. Micah's told me personally, hey, I am absolutely going to show up on the Texas campus in the fall for a visit, probably an official visit. He hasn't taken his official visit. So, I fully expect there'll be some twists and turns. And I thought even if Micah would have committed this summer, which I expected him to commit to Texas Tech. Like I said, that thing was so far down the road. Had he committed to Texas Tech, I still think there would have been some twists and turns, some bumps in the road for Tech, if you will. I think if Texas goes out and performs well this year, throws the ball around, puts up some big numbers, maybe Texas Tech struggles a little bit. Those things coincide. I think Texas has a chance. Again, I think Alabama, Texas A&M, I mean, some other schools are going to keep just kind of chipping away there too. But until I hear differently, my money is going to stay on Texas Tech. But I don't have a good answer as to why we're still waiting, sitting here waiting for Micah to make a decision.
It's just odd to me, it's just odd to me there, Jason. So we shall see. But I feel like he could have done it at any point that he wanted to. So the fact that he hasn't, I just find it curious.
Hey, how pissed are you if you're the guy who spent hours making a video and he winds up going somewhere else? Really big.
It's like, I'll go to UTSA. You're like, what? So damn it, Jeff Trailer. Someone asked me what high school game you're going to this Friday night. You don't do, Jason, Buckwild Longhorn, you don't do high school games, right? I will occasionally,
right? Actually, Rouse, where my kids go to school, plays at Lake Belton week 2, maybe. I need to look, but I might try to go to that one just to see Micah, see Selman Bridges. I don't do a lot of that. I used to do that, and then Dustin McComas did it, and then Cole Patterson did it for us, Jason Howe. We've had guys who do that, but I'm covering UT on Saturday as well. Friday's kind of my night usually to try to spend a little bit of time with my family, and I'll try to hit some games locally if there's some intriguing prospects that Texas is interested in, but it's just the bang for our buck for me to drive up to Dallas or Houston. It's probably not worth it. So I need to look. I know that Rouse, not that Rouse has any prospects, but I want to try to hit that game where they're playing at Lake Belton, which I think is maybe next week, and I need to double check that.
Mike Torres has a recruiting question for you, Jason. And he wants to know how how do you say it? Imazulu? Is that how it is? How you
Oh, I should know this, Omar. I've looked it up and I've asked him like 20 times, but it's like Amozula.
Mozilla.
And I think that's pretty close. Yeah.
Okay. Wants to know how does it fall from a top 50 prospect to a 200 player in the country in a less than a 4-month span? You got any pulse on that by any chance, Jason?
Man, I just got an interesting text, but I'll circle back to how does he fall? And well, one thing, and I hate to use this as a reason because I don't think it's a legitimate reason, but he didn't go to any camps, and Xena's a really good player. I don't know that the productivity is always matched, what people thought he was initially. Still think he has high upside, high ceiling. Listen, man, recruiting in a lot of ways, you got to be able to promote yourself. You just do. You got to keep your name in the spotlight. Going to camp certainly doesn't hurt. Some guys, love to do interviews. They're big on social media. Xena doesn't do a lot of that. And I'm not justifying that as a reason to drop a guy, but sometimes it's just human nature, out of sight, out of mind a little bit. And Xena, I think, could do a better. In NATO, his brother kind of suffered. NATO was even more quiet than Xena. Nato's really didn't market himself terribly well. Great kids, super intelligent, super nice, got bright futures, but at some point you got to kind of put yourself out there and go to these camps a little bit, even if it's just a UT camp. Okay, I'm not saying go to a rivals camp necessarily, but if you go to a Texas camp or an A&M camp and you come out of there and other players are talking about you and saying, man, he kicked ass, or if media actually gets to see you at these camps, that helps. But Xena, it's been pretty quiet for Xena, and he'll have a chance to move back up. Obviously, he plays at a powerhouse program, so if he has a big senior season, he'll have a chance to move back up.
Ben G has a question for you, and he says, not UT related, but do you feel like BK is recruiting the way Tom did here at UT with this 2024 class thus far? Does he mean?
What am I thinking? BK? What am I missing here?
I don't know. Does he mean Steve Sarkisian?
PK? Pete Kwiatkowski, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know which BK. There's. It might be over my head. How about we'll let Ben clarify that, and then we'll come back to it. All right.
LSU. Brian Kelly. Okay. Put the question back up. Brian Kelly at LSU. What was the question again? Sorry.
So then he wants to know if Brian Kelly
is recruiting what Tom did here at UT.
Okay.
Hey, you guys got to quit using initials. Type the damn name out. I don't know what do you feel Brian Kelly is recruiting the way Tom did here at UT with this class thus far? Pretty comparable. That's a pretty but LSU fans better hope that they have a better hit rate than Tom Herman had. Tom Herman signed some pretty solid classes. Top 5 classes, but you go back and look at them, and boy, the hit rate just wasn't very good. Listen, you got to be able to sign classes, but you got to be able to evaluate too. And especially nowadays, it's even harder. Guys have to fit your culture, and they got to not want to transfer out after a year if they're not making immediate waves on the depth chart. So it's tougher now to keep those guys around. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, LSU is recruiting at a very high level, and I think they'll continue to do so.
ATX Big Rich asks a question that I think is a great question, because I think we do this so often that we just assume everybody knows exactly the terms and the terminologies, like saying BK is. But, some people are just casual fans, and he really wants to know, hey, what's the difference between a visit and an official visit?
It's in the simplest terms, Big Rich, an official visit, the school pays for everything. And when I say pay for everything, they really spoil them. Unofficial visit, the players have to pay for their own travel. If they stay at a hotel, they have to pay for their hotel, the meals. They have to pay for everything. Now, unofficial visit, if you come in, schools can do little things like, hey, we're going to have a barbecue. Come in and we'll do the pool party and the barbecue plate may be $5. Okay. So they'll save you some money there. They're not going to break the bank on these unofficial visits, but an official visit, they can fly the player in from all over the country. They can bring them in on have a driver bring them in if they're from Houston or Dallas or whatever, get a nice car to bring them in, or they can fly them in. They'll put them up at the Four Seasons. They eat at the fanciest restaurants. You guys, if you pay attention to social media, they put them up at the Four Seasons. Those guys go in the room, and there's a bazillion goodies for them in there, and these homemade cakes and everything else to make them feel good. But bottom line is, an official visit is fully paid for. It's a 48-hour window. So if a guy comes in Actually, a guy can come in Friday night, and if he doesn't go to campus and meet with the coaches till Saturday morning, he has 48 hours after that meeting with the coaches, face-to-face meeting before his official visit starts. But it's a 48-hour window for an official visit, and everything is paid for by the school. An unofficial visit, it could be a week if a guy wanted to stay in Austin for a week and keep going to campus, but the player and his family are going to have to pay for everything.
Mike Welch asks us a really good question that Mike is asking, because he wants to know, is PK a better developer or a recruiter? And here's what's interesting though. When you look at it, Jason, I mean, he does get a 5-star on Anthony Hill. I mean, he did get Malik Muhammad, who's committed to him. Colin Simmons has committed to him. Ethan Berg was highly recruited and thought of. So was Colton Vasek. He's had a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball. Derek Williams commit to play for his particular defense. But then are we saying he's committed to PK? We say he's committed to Sark, or is it a developer? Like, it's a good question. I want to see what you thought.
They've recruited, those are all good names. They've recruited a lot of good defensive talent, but I don't know that Pete Kwiatkowski is the primary recruiter for any of them. I remember talking to Colin Simmons' mom, and he was one of about 5 or 6 names she mentioned. But, Colin himself told me Jeff Banks was his, if he had to pick one, he said it was a group effort, but I'd probably pick Jeff Banks, is what he said, as his primary recruiter. So, I think people always look at these coordinators and just say, okay, they're not really recruiters. They're either a good coordinator or not. Recruiting is secondary. I don't necessarily think Pete Kwiatkowski is a plus recruiter, but I think he's probably a little better than people realize. Guys that he does personally interact with really like him, seem to bond with him. They seem to respect him. So do parents that talk to him, but he's not the closer. He's not the guy that's going to come in and close the deal. I think it's more about, I guess I would say probably developer, or more about just, hey, what he's showing people is, hey, we've got a good defense. They had a good defense last year. If they can have a good defense this year, that's where his value as a recruiter is going to come in. People want to come in and play in a dominant defense. They want to play in a defense that's going to put guys in the NFL. The coaches don't need Pete Kwiatkowski to be a recruiting rainmaker. I mean, that's Bo Davis's job to recruit the linemen. That's Blake Gideon's job to recruit the safeties, and Terry Joseph. That's not PK's job. I mean, yeah, he helps on some edge players and things like that, but he's not brought in to be the closer. The way he can help as a recruiter, put out a badass defense that puts guys in the league, and that'll make everybody's job easier.
There's a Billy Bird put something in here. I have no clue what he's talking about. There must have been something in the super chat. He says Hippo character repeatedly points to the streamer while chanting "Get God." I have no clue.
Thanks for the $4.99.
I have no clue what had happened. I have no clue what's going on in the chat. Like, there's something going on. I just don't know what. Billy Bird, but let me go. It's okay. Blake is saying it's a super sticker, like an emoji. We're too old. Like, Billy, I just got to tell you, if you got a question, you can get it to us. But like, when I say sometimes it's like trying to show your parents how to use a cell phone. Right now, it's like showing your parents how to use a cell phone, and we don't know what the hell just happened. So let's just go ahead and go into something else. JD goes, what does the UT recruiting board look like at safety, either in the 2024 class or the 2025 class?
2025, I'd have to look at the offer list. I mean, it's pretty open. 2024, there's not much left out there. Let me circle back to the 2024. 2024 or 25, 2024, they've got Joshua Lair, who I put my recruiting board, out last week, and he's a guy that nobody talks about. Again, I mentioned Xena. Joshua Lair takes it to a whole other level. That dude never really talks to media. He'll respond to like a DM every once in a while, but he did visit Texas in June officially. The word coming out of that weekend was that, I'll just say, Texas looked really, really good. So good, in fact, that I typed up a quick story, and I've kind of been sitting on it for a while, and I hope I get to use it at some point. But I had Joshua Lair at 65% on my recruiting board, meaning I think Texas is going to land him. That's pretty low to moderate confidence level, I would say. For comparison, I had Kobe Black at I put 84.99% for those long-term subscribers will understand. I'm never going to do 85% catch, ruin that number. Years and years ago.
Yes,
So,
you did.
But I have Joshua Lair at 65% odds on landing with Texas. I think I feel pretty good there at the safety position. Looking at 2025, Jonah Williams out of Galveston Ball is a guy that Texas is after heavily. Cel Reyes is a guy out of DeSoto, but his brother plays at A&M, so probably not going to happen there. Jabari Antoine is a guy, he's actually teammates of Derek Williams, who obviously signed with Texas last year. There was some talk that he was going to visit in late July. He didn't come in. And DJ Pickett is a 5-star guy out of Florida. I'd probably put Texas right around the top 5 there for DJ Pickett. I talked to him this summer. He did visit Texas previously. He loved it, wants to come back for a visit at some point. So, there's some irons in the fire there for Texas in that 2025 class, but it's still pretty early there. We'll have to see how that one kind of shapes up.
Okay, Billy, by the way, Blake sent it to me. So on our end, when we see it in our studio over here, it just typed it out and it didn't show the emoji. So on your end, you saw the emoji. On our end, we just saw words. So that's why we were totally confused. Blake sent me a picture of it. Totally get it now. Makes all the sense in the world. And now it's pretty cool. But again, trying to show your old parents how this new thing works doesn't work. All right. So
still trying to figure out to program my VCR, right?
Yes. So Buddy B goes, hey, who's the most important commit left on the board right now? It's a good question.
I'm assuming he means like uncommitted player, I would assume.
Yeah,
right?
I'm assuming he means
prospect left on the board.
Yeah, that's what it means. Uncommitted.
Man, it really, that's a good question. Well, I was going to say it really comes down to 2, but I don't think so. Kobe Black and Ryan Wingo, right?
Mm-hmm.
DB in a wide receiver. I feel pretty good about Texas in the defensive backfield. I'm never really going to worry about Texas with wide receiver recruiting. So of those 2, I would maybe favor Kobe Black, but honestly, I think I might go with Brandon Baker, the offensive lineman out of Mater Dei. He's Mater Dei could help open more of a pipeline to that school. He's probably a right tackle, but he's a guy that'll get a look at left tackle. You're losing Christian Jones. Maybe he can slide into left tackle in a couple of years, possibly. But, those offensive linemen are worth their weight in gold, especially tackles. So I would probably go Brandon Baker, but, I think you could take any one of those 3 guys and probably not be wrong there.
All right, let's do maybe 1, 2 more at the most. Jimmy D, inquiring minds want to know such. Has the blue Adidas hat been officially retired?
Not at all retired. It needs to probably be washed, but no, heck no. I'll be wearing that thing till it's just threads hanging on my head. But no, it definitely has not been retired. I think I wore it last week, right? Didn't I go back to the?
I think you did go back to it next week.
Yeah.
I think you did back to it next week. So, all right, last week you did. All right, let's do this. There's just another fragrance reviewer. He wants to know if Whit Edwards is on Texas radar. Jason is from just another fragrance reviewer.
Not that I'm aware of. I'm going to Google that name. I don't even know Whit Edwards myself. So.
You said if he ain't on Texas radar, he's not on your radar. That's how you
2024 defensive end. So now, out of Wagner, Oklahoma. No, I don't know the guy. I mean, he looks like he visited Houston, Iowa State, Vanderbilt, but no, I have not heard of him being on Texas's radar.
One of the last ones I asked, Ben G has a good question for you. He goes, "What's your percentage on Baker?" He said Ketch was sort of bullish on him. However, you started the show saying you don't think it goes our way.
Did I on Baker? No, I didn't say that on Baker. No, I said that on DeAndre Carter.
Okay.
Misspoke. But I've got Baker at 60% on my recruiting board from last week, and that was only I think last Thursday. So yeah, I've still got Texas. And when I have that percent, it's not like Texas 60%, this team 20, this team 10, this team 10. It's basically Texas versus the field. So when I say 60%, I think he's going to land at Texas. That's kind of, I could say, moderate load, maybe moderate confidence in that pick. But I do have Texas as a team to beat. And that might be a little conservative. I think Texas is, in a pretty good spot there. But schools like Ohio State and Oregon and some others are still going to work there. He wants to go visit Nebraska in September. Nebraska's going to do everything they can. They've done a good job, but I think Texas is in a really good spot. I think those talks are pretty far down the road. I've got Texas as the odds-on winner for Brandon Baker, and he and DeAndre Carter are teammates at Modern Day. So maybe I misspoke earlier. I'm not sure, but to be clear, no, I have Texas as the favorite to land Brandon Baker.
And just the last one real quick. So what Buck Wild Longhorn asked if there's a Justin Williams update. Isn't he pretty hard commit to Georgia?
He is. And I mean, honestly, Texas was in there, I would say top 3-ish or 4, but it was always Georgia, Oregon, Texas, way down here, right? So Texas was never really in the mix there. So nothing new, Buck Wild, that I've heard in that recruitment.
Okay. I feel like I've said last one for 5 times.
Don't read that one by Kyle Harmon. Please don't.
Don't read it. Don't read it.
No, go ahead. Hey, no, hey, I don't mind, but yeah, go ahead. I should have let you go with it and see if you picked up on it.
No, I'm not going to do it because I don't know what the hell's going on. So I'm just going to step away from it.
Were you seriously going to read that?
No, I'm not going to read it.
Come on, that would have been hilarious. I should have let you read
it. You should have, because the smart people would be like, hey, like,
come on, now we got to read it. It says, is Barry McCockiner on the radar? Barry McCockiner.
It's good. And here's the thing.
You're playing to my heartstrings with my juvenile humor.
Yeah, I don't follow recruiting enough where I probably would have read it had you not told me. I'm like, hey, Jason, here's another one. Barry McCockiner. What's the latest on him? He's from this gate, whatever. So I appreciate it. Last thing is for you. Is there anything from a football related standpoint that maybe you didn't get a chance to talk about in the modcast yesterday that you felt like, damn, I just want to get one last football thought out? I did my Quinn diatribe today. So did you have anything?
No, it's funny. After you logged off the modcast, I kind of stepped in your shoes and kind of went at it with Catch. I'm like, it's crazy if he doesn't have Quinn in his top 10 players on this team. And he's like, well, he's citing his rating from last year. I go, you're talking about last year, dude. We're talking about where these players are right now, what we're projecting for this season, not last year. So the weapons around him, the year of experience gained. I mean, it's silly talk. Like I didn't get to hear Alex's rant. I want to go back and watch it, but I am fully on board. I mean, you've heard me say it. I think Quinn's going to, and then he had the gall to say he thinks Quinn might put up nearly 4,000 passing yards. I'm like, that's not top 10 player on the team. If he throws 4,000 yards, what the hell do you need from the guy, man? So, no, man, I'm excited. Scrimmage last week. You and I talked about it on Saturday. Then they'll have a scrimmage this weekend, or maybe more of a walkthrough type scrimmage this weekend. But it's right around the corner, man. Anwar, I think this team's got to. I think this team could fall into 10-2. Okay, and I think this team, obviously, Quinn's a big part of it, and they got to stay healthy. The defense seems to be finding its footing. I think this team has a chance to do something really special. I've said that. I haven't said that. I'm usually pretty conservative, but I've predicted, okay, hey, this team could get 10 wins before, and then they've gone 7-5. I'll be shocked if this team doesn't go 9-3 at absolute worst. I'd probably predict 10-2. I think 11-1 is possible. I'm not saying 12-1's off the table. I think this team has a chance to be really special. Obviously, make a run at the Big 12 championship. I think they've got a chance if things go well. Not predicting it necessarily. I think they've got a chance to make a run even at the playoffs. Seriously, I think this team has that much talent. If Quinn takes the step that I think he's going to step, that I think he's going to take, if the defense is as good as they've shown in fall camp, if they stay healthy, obviously, I think this team has a chance to be really special. So I'm excited, man. I'm as excited for this year as I have been for any Texas team in the last 4 or 5 years.
Jay Lee just put something real quick in the super chat. He wanted to know if you saw his recruiting question on OB. I'm assuming that's a Texas Tech recruiting question.
You know what, Jay? I did. I don't have it in front of me. I'd already typed up my Q&A that I posted, so I'm sorry I didn't get to it. And I don't have it in front of me. I apologize. If you don't mind, I tell you what, Jay, I will send you a private message. But I'm sorry I did not get it in my Q&A. I already had everything typed, and I had to get it posted this morning before I hopped in here, and I had some other stuff going on too. So I apologize.
I mean, do you have a minute or so, Jason? Do you have?
Yeah, I do.
And if Jay can put it in the chat right now, maybe we can just answer it right now.
I think it was one that was going to take a little bit of research if I remember.
Okay.
That might be one for down the road.
I didn't know if it was an easy one or not. So, all right, I'll let you guys handle that behind the scenes then.
Yeah, no, but I appreciate it, Jay, and I appreciate the super chat, of course. So I will definitely jump into our DMs and send him. I'll take a look at it and get him an answer. So.
Jason Suchomel, ladies and gentlemen, I absolutely appreciate you coming in every Tuesday to break down everything recruiting wise. And then at some point, if you missed it, we'll probably extract this video, and the guys, Blake or Aaron, will extract this and have this as a separate, hopefully, so you guys can get all your questions in, and even the Micah Hudson thing that still seems to be lingering out there. Jason, go find a new hat. Go find a new hat. And then I'll see you online soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Omar.